Hello, students. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Now we are studying monopoly market. So earlier we studied pure competitive market. That is one extreme case. This is another extreme case. Monopoly, single producer, single seller in this market. So there is only seller, then that product doesn't have close substitute. So there is no close substitute. He is the single seller. So no close substitute, and the monopoly single seller, single producer. So he has market power. So he is supplying for all the market demand. So he has the market power. So he can set the price. So here the monopoly is a price setter or price maker. In earlier we studied pure competitive market. So all producer produce a tiny amount of the market demand. So they cannot influence on the market. So they are price takers. But here he is the only supplier. So to the market. So he has power, market power. So he can set the or make the price. And he can block the entry. New firm, if enter, he can block. So he can block for any firm to enter. To maintain that monopoly status, he will always block new firm to enter and produce the same product. So there is a barrier to enter. And he is the only seller, so he doesn't need to compete with other producer by cutting the price, by reducing the price. No need to compete with other. There is no competition, so he will not compete by the price. So, but to promote, increase the sale, he use non-price competition method. Some market they compete by reducing the price. Some market they don't compete by the price. They want to increase their profit by not by reducing the price. So by reducing the price, they can attract more consumers. Like that, they will not do some market. So monopoly market, there is no competitor, so he doesn't need to attract more consumers to reduce the price. But some other market, they want to get more market share, more customers, they can reduce the price. Even other market also, some market, they are not competing by reducing the price. If one seller reduce, other seller also will reduce. Then again reduce. Like that, that is we call price war. If that is happen, if everyone started to reduce the price, ultimately all the sellers will not earn higher profit. So they will have a tacit agreement, understand that they should not compete by the price. Then they will use other method, advertisement, some promotion. There are many methods are there to promote their sale without reduce the price. So, but in the monopoly market, he is the only seller. So he doesn't need to use price competition method to increase his sale. He would increase his sale by using non-price competition method. So advertising another promotion method without reducing the price. So promotions or sponsoring, advertisement, like that, many method they are using to promote their product. So monopoly will use non-price competition method to increase the sale and increase the demand. So increase the demand for his product and increase the sale and the profit. So they will use non-price competition to increase the demand. So here are example for monopoly. Monopoly may be created by the government policy, government regulation, government license makes a firm become a monopoly, single seller. So that is regulated monopoly. Some are natural monopoly, that is because of the efficient scale. So some product we studied earlier, when they produce more and more, the average total cost decrease, continuously decrease. Then a large firm is enough to supply whole market demand. Then he will become a large firm, become a monopoly, because he is the one can produce at the lowest cost, because the average total cost continuously decrease when produce and produce more. That is for some industry, some product it possible. When you produce more and more, the total cost, average total cost may decrease. So in that type of product, the naturally a single monopoly can occur. So some are by the government regulated monopoly. So some are not a pure monopoly, some are near monopolies. So earlier we studied pure competitive market. There is no market, pure competitive market. Some are nearly pure competitive market. So the product, identical product is not possible in the real world. So all other characteristics are same of the pure competitive market, but this quality, no, there is no identical product, but they are nearly, some agriculture product market are nearly pure competitive market. Like that, here also some firms are he is not a single seller, but he control more than 95% of the market share, market demand. So he is the nearly monopoly. Like that, some example, US example, Western Union, like that. In that category, he is the control the market, most of the market share. So some are due to the geographic condition, some firm become a monopoly. So some professional sports team, so for one state, one district, there may be a one team like that. So then they are the one firm. So they like a monopoly. This example not more appropriate for our country, but other countries it's like that. So some big football teams for a particular area, they are the only one team. So any game, the revenue, the tickets, they sell and goes to that team. Other cannot form a team or there is no demand for that others game. So that geographic monopolies. So there are, why we study this monopoly? So there are dual objective. One is here we studied pure competitive market. Now we studied monopoly market. We are going to study monopoly market. So we study about the monopoly market, and also by studying this monopoly market, we can understand other markets between pure competitive market and monopoly competitive market. There are two markets we will study: monopolistic competitive market, oligopoly market. These two markets is the combination of pure monopoly and monopoly. The characters of other two markets has combination of pure competitive and monopoly market. The monopoly market, the monopoly has market power. In a pure competitive market, the firm doesn't have market power. Here, monopoly only single producer. Pure competitive market, large number of producer, seller. But these other two markets, monopolistic, competitive, oligopoly market, those firms has market power. They also have market power like monopoly because they are producing differentiated product. So that, but the pure competitive market, identical product, large number of sellers, so they don't have market power. Here, this oligopoly and monopolistic competitive market, differentiated product, so they have market power, particularly for their product, and also not a single producer like a monopoly. There are number of producers, so the degree is different. For the monopolistic competitive market, many producer, oligopoly market, few producer. So by studying monopoly, we can understand other two markets also while we are studying monopoly market alone also. So barriers to, we say one of the characters in the monopoly market, barriers to entry. That is the very important character for the monopoly because he should secure the monopoly status. So he should maintain that he is the only producer. Then only he can make higher profit. So then this is very important character to secure the monopoly status. So they always provide barrier to enter new firm. So the barriers may be in different form. So economies of scale is the barrier of the natural monopoly. So if the product like that technology then produce that product large amount, when they produce more and more, the average total cost decrease. So then the larger firm has lowest average total cost. Then any small firm enter the market cannot produce at that lowest cost. So that is a barrier. Scale, it's one type of barrier in the monopoly market. Other barrier, so legal barrier to entry for the regulated monopoly, it's occur due to this law. Okay, then other barrier, it's legal barriers in the monopoly. Because of that legal barrier, some regulated monopoly created or occur. So patents. So if any firm developed by research spending lot of billion or million rupees, then they develop a product. So technology, then they can get patent rights. So the government will give patent rights to that firm for 5 years. Other firm cannot produce. So he is the only producer and earn profit to cover their money spent on the research and development. So the government give this patent right because otherwise no firm will not invest and develop and do research to develop new product or new technology. So because of this legal regulation, they become a monopoly. This is a barrier to other firm to enter. And like that, license. So any government give license for many services for product the services. So the license for like a bar and transport service like that. So they are the one they can run that. So this is also a reason for the monopoly. So another barrier, ownership or control of essential resources. So to produce a particular product, there should be a they will use many resources, but some resources may be a particular resource. That resource may be whole resource may be controlled by one owner or supplier. So he become the monopoly. So by controlling those resources, others cannot produce that product. So he become the owner. So that is one reason for the barrier to other firm enter. They cannot get the resource to produce that product. Other things by pricing and other strategy. So there are some monopoly because of economies of scale or regulated government regulation. They become a monopoly. And then there is a barrier. But some monopoly, they don't have like other economies of scale or any license or patents or they don't control, they don't own essential resources, but still they are monopoly because they use some other business strategy to enter new firm into that industry. So already existing firm will do. If any new firm enter, they will reduce the price, slashing the price. So they reduce price much, so very low price. So the new firm see there is no profit at that price, so they will not enter. So this is one strategy to be a monopoly single seller in that industry. So there is no economies of scale or the government regulation to be a single seller, but they use business strategy to be a single seller, continue as a single seller. So using business strategy. Or if the new firm enter, they increase their advertisement. So then all consumers know only that product because of their advertisement. They are large firm, then they spend a lot of money on the advertisement. So like that, there are business strategy to block other new firm enter into the market. So these are the barrier, different form of barriers in the monopoly market. So monopoly demand. So in this market, so we will assume that monopoly status is secure. So he maintain that status. He is the only producer or seller. So he secure that monopoly status and no government regulation. So we will study one type of monopoly, that is, now we will study single price monopoly in this chapter. So that means monopoly status is secured, one assumption, no government regulation or intervention. So thus he can produce the amount and sell at the his price, whatever price he determines. And single price monopoly, that means he sell all the quantity, all the buyer same price, single price monopoly. So we will study first single price monopoly. So these are the assumptions we make. So then the monopoly market demand, the firm demand. So in the competitive market, we study market demand and the demand for particular firm product. Like that, market demand, he is the only seller, only producer. So the demand for his product equal to the market demand. So market demand is downward sloping. So and the entire market demand is the demand for this producer product. So price in the pure competitive market. So for the demand for a firm product is horizontal. So price, average revenue, marginal revenue is same. But here the market demand is the firm demand also, single seller. So downward slope demand curve. Then price will not be equal to the marginal revenue. Price should be greater than marginal revenue. In the pure competitive market, price equal marginal revenue always. Here, price is greater than marginal revenue. We will see why price is greater than marginal revenue. So in this, the demand curve you see, so monopoly demand curve. So at the price 142, consumers willing to buy 3 units. When the price decrease $132, the consumer will buy 4 units. So what is the change in the revenue is the marginal revenue. Marginal revenue, if we sell 1 more unit output, the change in total revenue is the marginal revenue. So here in the revenue, the loss in 142 to reduce 132, the loss is 10 into $330. But gain the 132 into 1. So gain is 132, loss is 30. So then marginal revenue is 102. Other box is same. So 142 into 3 earlier revenue. Now when the price reduce 132, sell for 132 into 4. 132 into 4 minus 142 into 3, it's 102. So marginal revenue is 102, but the price is 132. So price is 132, marginal revenue is 102. So price greater than the marginal revenue, because if the market demand curve is downward slope, the marginal revenue less than the price, only equal if the demand curve is horizontal. Otherwise, marginal revenue less than the price. So marginal revenue curve must always be less than the price. So marginal revenue less than the price because of downward sloping demand. So to increase the sale, the monopoly should reduce the price. So market demand downward slope. So to increase the sale from, if we want to sell 4 unit, then they are selling 3 unit. If we want to sell 4 unit, then price should decrease. Then only the consumer will buy. The market demand sale. So, but here firm is a price maker. He is the only producer. So he can determine the price, but the combination. So if we want to sell 4 unit, price should be 132. If he want to sell 3 unit, price should be 142, the demand. So he can choose the price and quantity to maximize the profit. So he can determine the price and level of quantity he want to produce to maximize profit. In the pure competitive market, price is given to the seller. He can increase the profit only choosing the level of output in the pure competitive market. So price is given. But in the monopoly competitive market, he can increase the profit by choosing price and quantity combination, both. But we studied the monopoly will operate in the elastic portion of the demand curve. Why? Only in the elastic portion of the demand curve, only marginal revenue is positive. So if you sell more unit, if your revenue increase, only you will produce more. So then only profit will increase. If marginal revenue is positive, total revenue increase. If total revenue increase, that means marginal revenue is positive. So marginal revenue, total revenue increase, marginal revenue is positive only in the elastic portion of the demand curve we studied earlier. So total revenue test, we studied how to determine, how to know the elasticity, whether demand is elastic or inelastic. We studied earlier how to identify a demand is elastic or inelastic by doing the total revenue test. So we saw the total revenue. If total revenue increase, if we sell more unit, total revenue increase, then demand is elastic. When we sell more quantity, marginal revenue is positive and total revenue increase, demand is elastic. When we sell more unit, total revenue decrease and marginal revenue is negative, then demand is inelastic. So here also, so monopoly always operate in the elastic portion of the demand. So when we sell or produce more, total revenue should increase or marginal revenue should increase. Otherwise, they will not produce that quantity. So total revenue. So the monopoly determine output and price. So I earlier told earlier chapter, any market, the profit maximizing rule is marginal revenue equal marginal cost. Is a pure competitive market or monopoly market or oligopoly market, so monopolistic competitive market, or any decision you make, you analyze marginal benefit, marginal cost. So like that, marginal revenue, marginal cost. But in the pure competitive market, marginal revenue equal price. So in a pure competitive market, profit maximizing condition may be price equal marginal cost, marginal revenue equal marginal cost. But other market demand curve downward slope. Only pure competitive market, the firm demand is horizontal. All other market, the demand for particular firm product not a horizontal, downward slope. So then marginal revenue, marginal cost condition is the profit maximizing condition. price equal marginal cost only possible in the pure competitive market condition. But all market, even pure competitive market or every market, marginal revenue equal marginal cost is the criteria or condition for the maximum profit. So here also the monopoly decide what amount he should produce to maximize profit at what output level marginal revenue equal marginal cost. So he will produce that level of output, and the market demand say to sell this output what should be the highest price. That market demand say market demand is the consumer's maximum willingness to pay. So that market demand then determine the price. So the marginal cost, everything same. So, and we develop the supply curve of the firm in the pure competitive market. The pure competitive market, a firm supply curve is the portion of marginal cost curve above the minimum average variable cost. Portion of the marginal cost curve that is above the minimum average variable cost. That is firm supply in the pure competitive market. But here in the monopoly market, there is no supply curve. So in the pure competitive market, when the price goes up, the marginal cost is there. When the price goes up, that marginal revenue also same goes up. Price equal marginal revenue. So when the price goes up, then the profit maximizing level of output, a particular output, because marginal revenue equal marginal cost for particular price, that is the marginal revenue. Marginal cost is the point in the marginal cost is there, that particular output level. So every price, the marginal revenue equal marginal cost equal at a particular output level. So then the marginal cost curve can be a supply curve. So each price level, there is a amount the consumer and the seller willing to sell. But here the price is not equal to marginal revenue. In the monopoly, price is always greater than marginal revenue. So marginal revenue, marginal cost at a particular output level, there will be a price. But when the demand curves change, shift, so marginal revenue also change. But that depend on the slope and everything. In the different demand curve, particular product demand curve may change. Demand curve may change. They will not be horizontal. So they can, the slope and everything, it may change, depend on the demand. So when they change, the corresponding marginal revenue for different demand curve, the same at the same marginal cost and different marginal revenue can be at the same output level. So we can have different price. For same output level, marginal revenue equal marginal cost maybe intersect in the same point for different demand curve. So different demand curve with a different slope. The corresponding marginal revenue for both demand curve, marginal revenue curve, and the marginal cost curve intersect at the same point. So same output level. Now, if we find the price in the two different demand curve, we will have two different price. So same output level, if we can have two different price, then it is impossible to derive the supply curve. So the monopoly market, it is impossible to say to particular output there should be a particular price. But in the pure competitive market, it's parallelly shift. So demand curve is parallel curve. Firm demand is parallel, the horizontal. So if shift parallelly, so becomes horizontal or always horizontal. So a particular price, we will have a particular output. So marginal cost curve and this marginal revenue intersect when the demand shift different point. So particular price, we will have a particular quantity. But in the monopoly market, different demand curve, marginal revenue, marginal cost can intersect at the same point. So particular output, we can have different price depend on the different demand curve. So because not parallel, horizontal shift. So monopoly market, it is impossible to derive the supply curve. So no supply curve in the monopoly market for particular price or particular output. There is no particular price. So we cannot derive the supply curve. So now monopoly. So we will see at the marginal revenue equal marginal cost, the firm get highest profit. Now the quantity of output and the price at different price, what is the level of quantity demanded? So price always equal to the average revenue. So the total sale divided by the quantity, it's equal to always price. So price and average revenue are same. Then if we multiply quantity and the price, we got the total revenue, third column. So then the change in total revenue is the marginal revenue, fourth column. So you can see, so total revenue increase and reach the maximum, then the decrease. Total revenue increase and reach the maximum 738, then decrease. Marginal revenue continuously decrease, but after certain level, it is positive, marginal revenue positive, then it's go to negative. So if the marginal revenue is positive, elasticity is greater than 1. Demand is elastic. If it is negative, then inelastic. So this up to this portion, demand is elastic, then inelastic. So then average cost is given, then total cost is average into quantity, that is total cost. Then difference in the total cost is marginal cost. then you can see marginal cost decrease, then increase. So if we subtract total revenue minus total cost, we will get profit. The column 8 is the third column minus 6th column. Total revenue minus total cost is the profit or loss. Now the total profit is maximum, then the firm produce 5 unit. At that unit you can see marginal cost between 70 and 80 and marginal revenue also between that range. So marginal revenue equal marginal cost when we produce 5 output. So this is the maximum level of output, the level of output that give highest profit. So if you see the graph, so the demand curve, marginal revenue curve. So marginal revenue is positive in the orange color region. So that is elastic. At that level, the total revenue increase. And when the marginal revenue is positive, total revenue is maximum. Then total revenue decrease, marginal revenue become negative. That portion of the demand curve, the gray color portion in the graph, the demand curve, it's inelastic demand curve. So monopoly always produce between the 0 and 8 any output where the marginal revenue equal marginal cost. So then we saw up to 8 unit elastic demand, but this monopoly will produce marginal revenue equal marginal cost at the output level 5. So he will produce 5 unit output, sell at the $122 the demand curve. So to sell 5 unit, the price maximum price can be 122. So he sell 122 5 units. So the consumer will buy all 5 units. So cost at when he produce 5 unit, average total cost is 100. So total cost is 500. Total revenue is 122 into 5. That means 22 into 5. So $105 economic profit. So he produce at the elastic region and get higher profit. So he determine the price and quantity, both 5 unit, $122. So this is, in this case, this monopoly get economic profit, but you should not think monopoly will not lose. Even he is the only producer, he can make loss. So now time is 3 o'clock. We will study in the next class. Okay, students.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mm.